Hello and welcome to Retire with Freedom. I'm David Lamb. This is the show that helps you plan the retirement you want. It is no secret that women tend to outlive men in every country around the world. So ladies, listen up. Chances are very high this could have a huge impact on your retirement. Tad and Toni Hill, founders of Freedom Financial Group, located right here in Birmingham, are here with me to explore some of the unique financial issues women tend to face in retirement. And then coming up a little later in the Freedom Factor segment, Tad will tell us how to create a specific retirement plan just for women. Let's welcome in a woman and a man, Tad and Toni Hill. How are you all?
Great. Good to be here.
I like the idea of this show, kind of just targeted towards women. So let's jump off with this. Whether a woman is single, married, or widowed, there are a number of financial factors she needs to be considering if she is approaching retirement or already there for that matter. How does the fact that most women will outlive their husbands impact planning for retirement?
Yeah.
So studies show, this is interesting statistic, but studies show that 80% of the men are going to die married and 80% of the women are going to die single. So when we think about that, when we really let that resonate, most of the time men are the ones that are doing the family's financial planning.
Right, yeah.
But here's why it's so important that women get involved and start really paying attention to this. For one reason, just like we just said, is they're living longer. So they're going to end up doing it most likely anyway alone. So getting involved early is super important. The other thing is women have really unique concerns and issues that men have these concerns too, but it tends to be a lot on the women. They care more about the family, maybe leaving money behind to their kids, maybe a little bit more. We see that women do than the men. Also, at the very least, their number one thing is health care because they do not want to be a burden on their family. They're like, I want to be able to make sure I'm taken care of. I don't want to burden my children. I don't want them to pay for it. I don't want to have to live with them, all those kinds of things. In other words, women want more certainty, safety. They're less likely to just wing it than a man would.
Yeah, I was meeting with a couple recently, and that's one of the things. Just to backtrack for a second, Toni, we've done this for a long time. We've been doing a radio show now for 10 years, and when someone comes in to see us, a lot of times the men will say, "Oh, well, I do all this, and my wife, she doesn't do any of this," or sometimes the ladies aren't interested in coming in, and so we are emphatic that if it's a couple that we're planning for, that they both need to be there.
Okay.
And sometimes we annoy people with that. I mean, we've had people refuse to come see us. Well, you know what? If I have to be there, the women is like, well, if I have to be there, forget it. Or the men are like, well, she doesn't want to be doing this, so if she has to be here, forget it. Like, okay. But we're not planning one person's retirement. Right? Retirement planning is not a singular exercise unless you're single.
Right.
But if you're single, then that's fine. But even then, you've got family things to be concerned about and that sort of thing. So it's always been a core tenet of ours that both people be involved. And you're right. It is typically the men that do all the financial stuff, and women do other things. But like we always say, that makes sense, right? It's like, okay, you and I have different duties at home.
Yep.
We have different duties at work, right?
Yep.
So if I take the garbage out, is it necessary for you to come back behind me, pull the garbage in, and take it back out, just so that we both know how to do that job? So I get it. It makes sense that one person does all the financial stuff and the other one does other stuff, equally as important.
Right.
Here's the challenge. You just said 80% of women are going to die single, 80% of men die married.
Right.
Statistically, it's clear women live longer. So, and the ladies often don't want to be involved in this, but here's the problem. They are going to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's going to come a time for most women where all of this financial stuff is their responsibility.
Right.
And it's going to happen at the worst possible time. It's going to happen when they just lost their life partner and they're devastated with grief, and now they're overwhelmed with fear and worry because they don't know what's going on here, unless they do know.
Right.
And that's the whole point of this show, is that the ladies, please pay attention. It's critical that we get them involved. And here's the thing, a lot of people think that all this financial stuff has to be complicated. It doesn't. If you're working with someone who understands how to take these concepts and make them into just common sense language. I'm not even going to use the word simplify. It's just make it common sense. Our clients are intelligent people. They know how to make decisions. A lot of times they're just not sure what their options are. And that's what this whole process is about. And that's what a plan customized for women is all about, is making sure that they're clear on all this stuff. Because once they get clear on it, they definitely have opinions about what they want.
And the other thing too is when I meet with a couple, if I'm meeting with a couple, the women tend to more often really, really want security, certainty. They want to be able to tangibly see and understand what's going on when they're there and when they're involved. They really want to know that. Like I said, they're less likely to want to wing things. They like to have plans and nail things down. They like to follow a recipe.
They're not the cowboys like you're talking about, right?
They're not. They really want to, and you know what? It's smart. That's the woman's intuition saying, why don't we have this figured out? What do we do here? What are we figuring out there? How is this going to work? When a woman really gets involved, I find that they're excellent at figuring this out. They're really good.
They know what they want. They just need to understand what's going on. And that's what this whole show's about today, is how do we build a plan for women.
Women and retirement, a really important topic we're covering today. Up next on the show, according to Nationwide, about 80% of women list healthcare costs going out of control as a top fear in retirement. Toni and Tad explain how to get in front of that issue to help preserve your income in retirement. And then later in the Freedom Factor, Tad talks about why women need a plan built specifically for them. But first, here's how to contact Tad and Toni to register for their next retirement course that is held in locations around Birmingham, or to schedule your complimentary retirement review.
What does your retirement look like? Is it filled with travel, time with grandchildren, uninterrupted rounds at the golf course?
We sit down with people just like you every day and help you plan the retirement of your dreams.
Our experience tells us that you've got some very important questions about retirement. What happens when my paychecks stop? How do I replace my income as securely as possible? What's the best way to protect my savings and investments so that they last as long as I live? Is my family going to be okay when I'm gone? We can show you how to answer these questions for you and your family. It all starts with our complimentary review.
Tad and Toni Hill and the team at Freedom Financial Group will develop a custom plan for you that fits your needs and meets your personal goals and helps ensure that you don't outlive your income in retirement.
The best retirement plan starts with a phone call.
We've helped hundreds of families in Birmingham protect their retirement. We're here to take care of you. Give us a call.
Call 205-988-0006 today to schedule a visit in our office on Valleydale Road.
Welcome back into Retire with Freedom. I'm David Lamb here with Tad and Toni Hill, founders of Freedom Financial Group. Now, we are discussing why women need a retirement plan built specifically for them. And here are a few interesting facts. Women tend to live longer, they contribute less to a tax-qualified account, draw less from Social Security, and they face higher health care and long-term care expenses. So, Toni, for you a question, how can women take control of these things?
Well, like I said earlier, it's really important they get involved early. They start taking control and kind of identifying the things that they want and their unique concerns, because women are at a disadvantage, I think, a lot of times, and here's why. They're usually the caregivers of the household. First, they may stay home and take care of kids and raise them. Even if they had a career before, maybe they take a pause, raise the kids a little bit, get back to that career. And coupled with that, sometimes they are the ones that later in life, if mom, dad, or in-laws need care, they may actually exit the workforce sooner to take care of those people too. So this is what that means to them is they've paid less into Social Security, so their Social Security's less. So they're gonna have less income. And if the planning hasn't been done properly, they may have even less income, depending on how pensions or money was set up before maybe their husband passed. And they're going to live a lot longer with these decisions. So all of those things that seem like headwinds can really be planned for in a proper way where they can actually have control of all of this. Listen, 68%, this is a study, 68% of people in nursing homes are women. All you got to do is go visit a nursing home to know this. It's mainly women, and so they are living longer and they're experiencing any kind of issues like that for a longer period of time. So we really just want to, make sure they're involved early, that anything that they care about is being addressed, and it gives them more of a sense of peace, control, and understanding of what's going on.
Well, and Toni, don't you think that one of the biggest barriers to women getting a plan, and whether they're single, widowed, divorced, or married, right? Because, and that's, we talked about this earlier. Even if they're married and they think, oh, John takes care of all that.
Right.
Well, at some point, they're going to be taking care of this,
Absolutely.
right? So what are the barriers to this? Let's talk about that for a second. I think here's what I hear from the ladies. The barriers are, well, that's not really my thing and I'm not interested.
Yeah.
So I get that. But even if you're not interested, it's important that you have a basic understanding of what's going on, because like you said, once they really get clear on what's happening and what the alternatives are, all of a sudden they are very opinionated.
They're in and they have lots
They're
of
like,
opinions.
no, I don't
We
want to
have
do it
lots
that
of
way. I want to do
opinions.
it this way.
Right.
Safety and security is more important to me than growth and risk and that sort of thing.
And I wanna leave money to the
I think
kids.
one of the barriers are that they feel like this is not an area of interest. Another barrier is that they think somebody else is going to do it, maybe. Another thing that I hear all the time is, well, every time we go see our broker, banker, whoever, they don't even look at me. They just address John, right? Or if I ask a question, one of two responses happens. One is kind of condescending, almost like, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it. It was a good word too. But anyway, somebody's condescending to them, or they talk over their head. Right. They use all this technical jargon, which really is a way for a broker to try and make themselves look smart. Right. But let me say this, if you can't explain these things to someone who knows nothing about it in a way that is clear, simple, concise, and common sense, then you don't know what you're doing very well.
Yeah. You gotta
Either that or you're a terrible teacher, and you don't want either of those things, right? So go ahead.
Right, no, I'm just saying, the sad thing is very, very few women, when they first come in, feel any confidence at all about having a handle on this and their ability to understand this. And one of the greatest things I think, takeaways from when we're, doing plans for, even if it's a couple or if it's a single lady, a single lady, all the time we hear, this is the first time I've understood this. This is the first time that this has been clear to me. I don't know. Suddenly I understand these things. And like you said, I think it's because it's all about the communication.
And it's about explaining things so that it's understandable. And then once they understand, again, they get very involved.
They're passionate.
Because it's not that they don't have opinions and know what they want, it's that they feel like this is beyond them, and it's really not.
Right.
All right, some really important insights. Thank you all for that. Now, straight ahead on the show, Tad shares why women need a plan built specifically for them. That is next in the Freedom Factor. And still to come, Tad and Toni answer some of your questions. First, though, here's how you can contact Tad and Toni, sign up for their next retirement course, or to schedule your complimentary retirement review. Stay with us.
What does your retirement look like? Is it filled with travel, time with grandchildren, uninterrupted rounds at the golf course?
We sit down with people just like you every day and help you plan the retirement of your dreams.
Our experience tells us that you've got some very important questions about retirement. What happens when my paychecks stop? How do I replace my income as securely as possible? What's the best way to protect my savings and investments so that they last as long as I live? Is my family going to be okay when I'm gone? We can show you how to answer these questions for you and your family. It all starts with our complimentary review.
Tad and Toni Hill and the team at Freedom Financial Group will develop a custom plan for you that fits your needs and meets your personal goals and helps ensure that you don't outlive your income in retirement.
The best retirement plan starts with a phone call.
We've helped hundreds of families in Birmingham protect their retirement. We're here to take care of you. Give us a call.
Call 205-988-0006 today to schedule a visit in our office on Valleydale Road.
In today's Freedom Factor, Tad explains why women need a plan built specifically for them. Tad?
Thanks, David. Okay, ladies, as we've been discussing, it is of paramount importance that we get a plan customized specifically for you. It doesn't matter whether you're single, you're divorced, you're widowed, you're still married. It's very important that you get a plan that takes all of the things that matter to you most into account. So even if you're married and you have someone else helping you with this, it's really important that you're involved in this process. And I promise you, once you understand how to do this, and it's not complicated, you will have a lot more confidence in everything that's going on. And this is designed to help you get the life that you want. So let's dive in and see how we do it. The first thing we do is we have to have a process. We can't just wing it. We want to walk through step by step to make sure that we've come up with a plan that fits you as perfectly as possible. So we've got to get a picture of what you want. What do you want to spend your time, energy, resources doing? Is it spending more time with the kids and grandkids? Is it travel? Maybe it's travel with the kids and grandkids. Maybe it's your church, your charity work. Anything that matters to you. Maybe you've got hobbies that you want to spend more time doing. This is the part where we get to design what you want your life in retirement to look like. We're not concerned about, stocks and bonds and strategies and all that right now. We're just painting the vision, the picture of what you want your life to look like. Then we go into the stress test mode, and this is where we are an advocate on your behalf by going in and looking at what are the things that are going well, and what are the things that need some attention? Are there things that need to be fixed? Do we have an income plan? Do we not have an income plan? Are there things we can do to help save on taxes? Do we have to solve for healthcare needs that we may have in the future? So once we identify what those issues are, then we go into the design phase. And the design phase is where it's very important that you have someone that you are comfortable working with that can explain your options to you in clear, plain, common sense language so that we can look at the different strategies that are available and the pros and cons. Do we want to lean more towards safety and security and certainty in your retirement? Are you okay having more risk, but we've got more opportunity? How do we blend those things together? Most plans, we think about the fiscal house that we talk about all the time. Most plans are designed to get us all of those things. But what's the right thing for you? That's what the design is all about. And this is where you need to be working with somebody who's really good at taking maybe complicated financial concepts and turning it into just plain English. Here's how this works. Here are the pros, here are the cons. Here's option A, B, and C. What do we want to do? That's what the design phase is all about. Once we do that, then we build the plan. We put your plan, your customized plan in place. And again, if you're part of a couple, we want to make sure that the things that matter to you are part of this planning process. And we've yet to have a situation where we weren't able to blend all of this together and come up with a solution that felt good to everybody that's involved. So once we build that solution, then we guide you. And this is the most important piece in the whole thing. It might take a few visits to go through the first 4 steps and get the plan in place. But who you're going to get advice and guidance from for the next 20, 30 years, that really matters. And it needs to be somebody that you are confident in and comfortable with. Confident in and comfortable with. And that's where what you care about the most matters. And who you're comfortable with matters. So it's very important that you feel good about that. Now, let's talk about the specifics of how we do this. Let's jump into the design phase. So, as I said, we think about this like building a house. And the foundation of the house has to be income. We've got to be able to get the income that you need and augment things like Social Security or pensions that you've already got. And we're going to need to take the money that you've amassed and have saved and create income strategies. Those are your immediate needs. That's how we pay the bills. Then we look at the walls. The walls is money you're going to need in the first 10 years of retirement. And so maybe it's a car, maybe it's travel, those sorts of things. And then the roof is long-term needs, inflation, healthcare, legacy planning. So how do we do that? For the foundation, we want to invest in things that are very conservative but designed to get you income. Maybe it's dividends and interest payments that we can count on. Maybe it's certain types of fixed annuities that will get you a lifetime income so that no matter what happens to the markets, no matter what happens to interest rates or the economy, you know that you've got this paycheck coming in for as long as you live. But if something happens to you and there's still money in the account, that's going to go to your family. That's a very important thing for most people. So make sure if you're using any kind of annuities, you're using the right ones that take care of both you and your family should something happen. Now, with annuities, we also have to be aware of surrender penalties and that sort of thing. With stocks and bonds, we've got to be clear on the amount of risk we're taking. It's a common mistake not to know how much risk you're taking. So we make sure that we've thought through all of those things before we put a plan in place. For the walls, the medium term, we're using typically a conservative portfolio of stocks and bonds, but we're being very careful with that. We don't want to take too much risk for money that we might need in the first 10 years of retirement. And then for the roof, we're being more aggressive there. We're going swinging for the fences because this is money that you're not going to need for income. You're not going to need it for your medium term. It's our long-term growth money. Maybe we're looking at life insurance strategies for legacy and tax planning, that sort of thing. So this is how we build your fiscal house. We do it strategically, we do it with common sense, and we do it designed on what you want and what matters to you. So what should you do next? I strongly encourage you to call us or text the number on the screen and either come in and sit down with us and let us walk you through how to put a plan together for you specifically, or come to our next retirement course. This is 2.5 hours of a deep dive going into clear, concise, simple explanations of how to put all this together so that you know the best way to create a custom retirement plan designed specifically for you. Either of those two actions is a great way to get started, but take action. David?
Thank you, Tad. Still to come here, we're going to hear directly from you in our Q&A section. But first, don't miss out on this special offer from Tad and Toni. Stay with us.
What does your retirement look like? Is it filled with travel, time with grandchildren, uninterrupted rounds at the golf course?
We sit down with people just like you every day and help you plan the retirement of your dreams.
Our experience tells us that you've got some very important questions about retirement. What happens when my paychecks stop? How do I replace my income as securely as possible? What's the best way to protect my savings and investments so that they last as long as I live? Is my family going to be okay when I'm gone? We can show you how to answer these questions for you and your family. It all starts with our complimentary review.
Tad and Toni Hill and the team at Freedom Financial Group will develop a custom plan for you that fits your needs and meets your personal goals and helps ensure that you don't outlive your income in retirement.
The best retirement plan starts with a phone call.
We've helped hundreds of families in Birmingham protect their retirement. We're here to take care of you. Give us a call.
Call 205-988-0006 today to schedule a visit in our office on Valleydale Road.
Welcome back into Retire with Freedom. Now it's time to get to some of the questions you have for Tad and Toni Hill. You two ready for this?
Ready.
All right, let's jump right
Fire
in.
away.
The first question comes from Jack in Mountain Brook. I'm 65 and considering a life insurance policy to help replace my pension income in case my wife outlives me by several years, something we're touching on today. Is it unusual for someone to be buying life insurance at my age?
Well, I don't think that's unusual to buy life insurance at 65. My question would be, have you already taken that pension decision? If you haven't made that decision, Jack, please, you and your wife, come see us, come sit down, come look at things, and just make sure that you're making the best decision possible. We see this a lot where people go like, all right, what do? Do I take my pension of 100%, 50%, 0%, buy a life insurance policy to kind of make up for that? And sometimes those decisions aren't well thought out because they're doing what they've heard or what they've researched, but there's a lot of stuff out there that maybe...
And when you say 100, 0, 50, you're talking about how much their spouse gets
to leave behind to his wife.
How much
So if
pension they
his
get.
main thing sounds like he cares about how to make the best decision for his wife on his pension. So first of all, let's make that decision wisely first. If he's already made the pension decision, he's saying, hey, do I need to pick up some insurance? Then maybe what we need to do at this point is decide what kind of insurance, not just are you 65 and you're buying insurance, because sometimes people will buy a term policy for a few years and then they outlive the term policy and the wife still gets nothing. Or let's say it's a term policy and it's a little bit, maybe they've even analyzed how much they should get, but then she gets the policy after she gets the money and doesn't know what to do with it. Does she turn that into income or something that she can live on? I mean, there's a lot of pieces to this.
Well, and one of the reasons that people want to buy a life insurance policy is what they're usually intending to do is take the single life payout on the annuity, on the pension. Okay. So you were saying that instead of 100% spousal or 50% spousal, they're getting 0% spousal. So they get more money while they're living. but they're leaving nothing behind if they die.
Right.
And so the life insurance policy is designed to solve that problem, but way too often,
Yep.
there's not enough life insurance. You know, if you're getting $4,000 a month in your pension, that's $48,000 a year. You would need $1 million life insurance policy to make up for that. And most people don't know how to do those ratios.
Right.
Like if I'm getting this much income, how much money do I actually need to replace that income with? How much would she have to invest to be able to pull from that? And then the other thing is, what is she going to invest it in? So if he's not around and he's been the one doing all the planning,
Yeah, what is she
and then somebody dumps $1 million on her from the death benefit, what does she do with
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Right? Now she's left to
Make decisions.
whoever she ends up talking to. And you know, maybe it's us, maybe it's somebody that really doesn't do retirement planning. So there's a lot of uncertainties being created there that frankly I would try to avoid.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good advice. Next question. This is from Carol in Pelham. She says, I've had about 90% of my assets in cash for the last 3 years. I know this is way too much to have in cash, but I'm too nervous to do anything else with it. Where do I begin to start looking for some conservative options?
Well, Carol, where we begin is first of all understanding what do you want your retirement to look like? How do you want to spend your time, energy, and resources? How much other income do we have? How much of your savings do we need to generate income with? It might be fine to keep a lot of money in cash. We have plenty of clients that do that. That's not necessarily a bad thing unless you're needing 4 or 5% of that to live on every year, in which case you're just going to spend down and
Raise to
end up
zero.
with probably nothing or run out of money, you know,
Yeah.
not very likely. I mean, I don't know. It's possible.
Right,
Let's put
yeah.
it. It's a possibility that we want to avoid, right?
Absolutely.
So we've got to start with the planning process, which is what does Carol want? What's her life going to look like? What's she doing now other than the cash? How much income does she need? Does she have long-term care taken care of?
Right.
How big of a deal is it that she leaves money to her kids? Is that important to her?
Yeah.
You know, does she want to travel for a while and then slow down after that? So there are a lot of things we can do. It's just a matter of what's the right thing for Carol. But there are instruments out there. People with a ton of cash are worried about the stock market. And there are strategies out there where we can generate income that creates a lot of safety and certainty without the risk of the stock market. And Carol, those things exist. And for everyone else who's got a lot of cash and not sure what to do, there are ways to do this without taking a lot of risk.
Some really good questions, really good answers, and a very interesting show today. Thank you both for being with us, and thank you for those questions. If you have a question, you can visit AskFreedomFinancial.com. We just might use one of your questions on a future show. But most importantly, do yourself a favor and act on the information you've heard today. Call or text or register for Tad and Toni's next retirement planning course that is held in locations around Birmingham, or to schedule your complimentary retirement review. Don't wait until the market correction. Protect your retirement for the sake of yourself as well as your family. Call now. For Tad and Toni and the entire team at Freedom Financial Group, I'm David Lamb. Have a great day and an even better retirement.